I'm Jason with the All Things Open team. I'm here with Avi Press. Please introduce yourself to our community.
My name is Avi Press. I'm an open source maintainer and software engineer by background, but these days I'm the founder and CEO of Scarf, which is a company that provides usage analytics to open source projects.
Perfect. Tell us more about Scarf. How did it get started and what problems does it solve?
Yeah, so back when I was maintaining a lot of open source in my spare time, I found myself in the situation where big companies were using my projects, but I didn't really have a good sense of how they were doing that and if I should maybe quit my job to build a business around the tools that I had built. Turns out a lot of other open source projects have similar issues where they have very little visibility into how the software actually gets used. And so Scarf exists to solve that problem and give maintainers more visibility into how their software gets used in a way that preserves the privacy of the end users that are actually interacting with this stuff and kind of fits more into the open source ethos for how to do this stuff the right way.
That sounds really cool.
Thank you.
Well, I hear you're passionate about sustainable open source. What's the spark there?
I mean, it's really just being in that position myself, right? It seemed, I'm spending all my spare time maintaining this code that big companies are using, and I can't figure out a way to sustainably pay myself to do that. And there's a lot of other people who are in this position, doing very, very valuable work that is very undervalued by the people who rely on it. And open source stands up the most critical, stuff of our world. Banks and hospitals and power plants and all these things. And to me, it is fundamentally crazy that the people who build that software can't, get any visibility into what that usage looks like. And so, from having that be such a personal thing that I dealt with so directly. I don't know. It really, I just got very obsessed with that problem, I guess.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, so on that kind of topic of paying the maintainers, are there any leading solutions out there that you think have a chance to pay off, basically?
So I think the stuff that we are doing has proven to be pretty effective in that we can surface the companies that rely on a given open source project. And so what we see a lot of companies do is, by having that kind of visibility, when new companies start relying on your open source more heavily, when new companies show up, it actually gives these projects the ability to be more proactive, connect with them. If you have other things that you sell, to go talk to them and see if you can solve more of their problems. And so that seems very promising.
I love it. So you have a podcast. I want to know more. What's it called? What do you talk about? And where can people find it?
Yeah. The podcast is called Hacking Open Source Business. You can find it on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts today. Basically, I just have any, open source entrepreneurs or anyone that is kind of, in any way related to the business of open source on, and we just talk about, what's working, what's not working, what have they learned, how are they approaching this kind of thing, and we just try to tease out the common lessons that people are learning, because there's really no good playbooks about how to build these kind of unique businesses that exist around open source. It's a very different kind of motion, and the things that work in, traditional SaaS do not work very well here, because the code is open, and that poses some problems.
Well, I'm interested, so you might have a new listener here pretty soon.
Great.
Do you have any tips, best practices, or new tools that you're using that you would like to share with the All Things Open community?
Hey, this is Todd with All Things Open. Thank you so much for watching. We truly appreciate it. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification button. We've got a lot of new content coming we think you're going to be interested in. One final favor, be sure to go to allthingsopen.org, allthingsopen.org to see everything that we do. Back to the video.
Best practices, tools. I mean, I think, one thing that we see a lot is people that build open source without really knowing what their goals are and what they're trying to accomplish and achieve. And I think that leads to maybe switching licenses, or maybe having kind of skew between the direction you're taking the project versus what the community wants. And so, our thing here, I think, as just best practices is figure out what your goals are, measure how you're doing on that, and so you can kind of optimize, make the most effective use of your time and align what you're doing with the community. So obviously Scarf is a great way to do that. I think in terms of our own system observability, I think another random tool that comes to mind as I'm talking about this, we use Honeycomb really heavily on our backend, which is a really great observability tool that we would recommend. But yeah, I think just in terms of best practices, be methodical about what you're doing, why you're doing it, and how you'll do it better.
Sounds great. So we're here at All Things Open with 5,000 of our open source friends. Can you offer any advice to help conference attendees on what to do with all this knowledge after the conference and what to do when they get home?
You should build stuff. You should contribute to open source, or you should build things. Personally, I feel like you can do a lot of academic learning on stuff, but none of that is really going to stick permanently until the rubber hits the road and you hit the terminal and start coding.
I love it. Avi, thanks for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. This is great.
Thank you.